the bodice that we sewed a little while ago, and we're going to line up these seams, and this is right sides together. Remember our right sides? We're going to line up the seam. Here's the seam that we just sewed. We're going to line up those seams and we are going to pin them in place right there. Then I'm going to come over here and the very edge back, I'm going to overlap it here. Just like this. I want a little flap here for later. That seam, see that seam right there, right here. I'm going to line that up with the seam on our bodice again, and I'm going to pin that in place. Again, coming to the end here, here's our bodice, and I'm going to overlap that a little bit again. I'm going to leave about a ½ an inch. Okay, I want to show you this. I have the very center of my bodice and the center of the skirt lined up, and I've pinned it on the inside. I've pinned our side seams, and I've pinned our edges, leaving a ½ an inch overlapping of the skirt. Now, what I'm going to do, let me turn this so you can see very clearly. I'm going to simply start pulling this. The nice thing about this is that you have so much control over what happens. Okay, I'm going to take it to the machine. I'm going to start that stitch. I'm going to take the pins out, and now I've got a lot of control over what happens with that thread. All those gathers along the way, which is really nice. You want that control. And this needle, the way we're doing this with the needle and the thread, really helps you to have all that control that you'd like to have. See, I just work it around so that it looks really nice and even. Then I stitch it in place. Okay, now that we have secured our gathers in place, I'm going to go back and I'm going to zigzag stitch right along the edge here to secure that seam in place. Taking this now to the ironing board, and I'm pressing this seam that we just sewed. I'm pressing it up because in a little while we're going to be turning this over and seaming, putting a seam here. So we just want to be able to do that easily. So I'm just going to go along and I'm going to press it up. It's going to make your gathers lay nicely too. Let me show you this. See how beautiful those gathers turned out? How simple that was? You had so much control. All right, now we're going to take our dress and we're going to turn it right sides together. We're going to turn her inside out here. And I'm going to take our waistline, lining it up carefully. I'm going to pin it in place right there. Go ahead and pin it up at the top, just so it's not slipping around on you. And we're going to measure out 2 inches from the waistline. Measure out 2 inches right there, pulling it all together. Lay this so you can see it a little bit better. 2 inches right here. I'm going to put a pin in so I can find that later. I'm going to go ahead and pin right along this, because we're going to go up and we're going to seam the back of that skirt. Now, when we do that, we're going to do it straight stitch at 5/8 inch this time, and I'll show you what that is on the machine. We're going to come straight up here and we're going to stop right here at this pin, 2 inches from the waistline. And we're going to go back and back up. We're going to make sure we finish that. We really want this nice and secure right here. All right, I am all set to sew. I've put my needle down, and this right here, I want you to see this where it says 5/8. That is a 5/8 inch mark. Now, most of the time when you're sewing clothing, you're going to be lining the edge of your material up with that 5/8 inch mark. However, doll clothing is a little bit different because it's so much smaller. So that's why we've been doing a little bit more than 1/4 inch. Actually, we've been lining it up with the edge of the presser foot. So with my needle down, I go forward, back, now when I come to this pin, I'm going to stop because that's right where we want our seam to stop. I'm going to go ahead and reverse it. You know what, I'm just going to go ahead and reverse it again. So I want that nice and secure right there. Okay, now we're not going to finish that seam. This is what we're going to do instead. We're going to open that up. We're going to iron it open to begin with. Okay, I'll show you both on this side and on the other side. What I've done is I ironed this, pressed this in place over and over on both sides here so that it lines up with the seam right here. It's going to line up with the edge of our material, and we have this nice opening. Inside, what we're going to do now though is we're going to stitch that down because we don't want these raw edges hanging around. We want to have a nice finished product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron this again. I'm going to fold this just like this, right along that seam. And I'm going to iron that in place all the way up, just like that. Okay, now that I've pressed that in place, I'm just simply going to go back to the machine and I'm going to do a straight stitch right along that to secure that down all the way up to there on both sides. All right, now that we've finished off that seam very nicely, we're going to take our hook and loop tape. You know what this is. And since it comes rather wide, I'm going to cut it right in half so we have just the width we need for our 18-inch doll. Right now I'm going to leave this 1/4 inch from the top. I'm going to put it in place right there. Come down, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. Okay. Now note this is on the outside of our dress. When you pin that other part of it on, you're going to need to pin it under here, because remember the way this works, we'll be going like this. Now I'm going to go back, I'm going to take this to the machine now, and I'm going to straight stitch down the 2 sides and the edge of that tape. Now I want to point out this is not the sticky tape. This is the sewable tape. The sticky tape, honestly, it just makes a mess. Okay, nice and secure, so I'm going to back up. Straight down, take it very slow. We don't want any moving around. Right back up to the top. Clip in your threads first. And I'm going to sew right down along that. All right, we're going to start, go in reverse, and then we're going to go right down along that other side. Hopping, and we're going to reverse to make that nice and secure. All right. Okay, let me point out now, where you put it on the outside of the dress last time, you're putting it on the inside now. So we're going to go forward, back up, and go straight down along that edge, stopping to pull out our pins. We want to be nice and careful because we really want a straight stitch to be seen from the outside. All right. Putting the needle down, and I'm pulling my thread back here so that it doesn't get caught in that seam. I'm going to go forward, a couple stitches, and backwards. And now we're just going to secure the other side of that hook and loop tape. Again, we want to be careful to try to do a very straight stitch here since it is going to show on the outside. Right here at the end, reverse, and then straight, and we're going to clip our threads. Now we've put it together, and see we have our hook and loop tape here. It's going to secure our back, and we're going to come down here to the bottom, clip some of these threads off, and we're going to put the hem in. Now this is going to be a rolled hem. What I mean by that is we're going to turn it up about 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to turn it up again, and we're going to straight stitch right along there. Now, to make this very easy on you, I recommend you take it to the iron and iron it in place first. Okay, what I've done is I have measured, I have ironed doubly, and I have pinned this in place all the way around the bottom of our skirt. So now all I need to do very simply is just come back and start right along here, and I'm going to do a straight stitch all the way around the bottom for our hem. Okay, I start with my needle down. Pulling pins out as I go, always. Here is our dress. Our very next thing on the agenda is to do our shorts or our bloomers. All right, what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to do this center seam right here. I'm going to go straight up, straight down, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish it with a zigzag stitch. So let's pin it in place. And we will do that. Lined up with the edge of our presser foot, and we come straight up, right exactly above the V there. I'm going to raise that presser foot, I'm going to pivot all the way around, we're going to come straight back down. Next, we're going to just simply